Trump is draining what is left of our U.S. emergency oil reserve stockpile. If he drains it all, the price of gas at the pump could skyrocket to $7 or more per gallon. Due to the village idiot Donald Trump's stupid war with Iran, the price of crude oil last week topped $100 a barrel. Again, the average price of a gallon of gas in the United States today is $4.10. And the only reason the price of a gallon of gas is not much more expensive right now is because 32 countries that are members of the International Energy Association agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil from their strategic reserves onto the world market. Now, knowing that Trump is too dumb and that he's too crazy to just stop the war that he never needed to start in the first place, I think it's fair to assume that these IAE member nations agreed to release these emergency reserves to avoid a total global energy meltdown and astronomical gas prices for consumers. They weren't working with Donald Trump. They weren't supporting this idiotic war. They were simply trying to save their citizens and the rest of the world from Trump's irresponsible and catastrophic stupidity. Now, as far as the U.S. goes, last week, the Wall Street Journal reported that our emergency oil reserves hit its lowest levels since 1983. Back in May, the village idiot Donald Trump announced that the U.S. would release up to 172 million barrels of oil to bring prices down during this ridiculous and completely unnecessary oil disruption, the war. So far, reporting suggests that Trump has released 104.4 million of those barrels. And that leaves the U.S. with about 311 million barrels. That's the lowest since 1983. And once those reserves once they go down to 252.4 million barrels, we're in trouble. There's a law called the Energy Policy and Conservation Act, and that law will limit any subsequent withdrawals. If that happens, Trump can't flood the global market anymore with our emergency oil. And in this case, he can't just continue to give barrels of oil to U.S. energy companies because that's actually what he's doing right now. You probably don't know this, but the Department of Energy is literally floating this oil to U.S. companies for free with the promise that they will pay for it later and at a higher price. But once we hit that minimum threshold and once this law is triggered, oil prices here in the United States will rise exponentially. And if that happens, and if the war in Iran is still going on, some analysts predict we will certainly see $5 a gallon gas, and we could see $7 to $10 per gallon if things get bad enough. Where are these oil reserves that Trump is dipping into? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, there are underground salt caverns in Louisiana and Texas that store millions of barrels of oil for emergency use. In the event of an energy shock, U.S. presidents can release some of that oil to keep prices at the pump from spiking too high, right? So you might be saying to yourself, this doesn't sound so bad, right? We still have over 300 million reserve barrels, and that is correct. That's true. But think about it this way. The U.S. uses about 20.6 million barrels per day. That means we have 15 days of emergency reserves left if something catastrophic were to happen. The minimum requirement for all IAE nations is 90 days. So Trump is flooding the market with an already depleted supply of oil to keep prices at the pump artificially low, below $7 a gallon. Why is he doing this? He's doing this because he and drunken Pete Hegseth in the Pentagon and all the rest of the incompetents around them, somehow they were all too stupid and too uninformable to know what every other president has known before them, that if you start a war with Iran, they will cut off the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, because of this war that Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, started with Iran, 20% of the world's energy supply is stuck in tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. With recent news that the Houthis have blockaded Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea, you can add another 7% of the world's oil not flowing into the global market. This is a fast-moving economic disaster, not to mention the appalling, unnecessarily cost in human lives at home, our military in Iran and in the Middle East. Iran knows this, and they know they have all the leverage. They are perfectly happy with Trump's idiotic start and stop bombing efforts. They know that Trump can't commit ground troops, so he can't take over the country or force regime change. They know it could potentially be the end of his presidency if he were to do so. He's already polling way underwater on this war, even with his MAGA base, right? The Iranian regime, they know all this. They know U.S. news, and they know that each time that Trump threatens and bombs them and then stops and pretends to negotiate, it puts them in a stronger position. They know that they are already in a better position than they were before the war started. They now control the Strait of Hormuz. They will eventually charge tolls to every ship that passes through it. In the Middle East, they have shown all of their neighbors that they're powerful, that they can stand up to the full might of the U.S. and Israeli military, and that they can hit back. They are also completely incentivized to develop a nuclear weapon now. And don't be surprised if in the future, when this whole thing is over, if we hear from, say, Russia, that Iran should develop a nuclear weapon because of U.S. and Israeli aggression. Don't be surprised if maybe we hear that from China or anyone else. And the Iranians know that the longer this goes on, the stronger their position gets. And the longer this goes on, the more this war costs you directly. If it continues for just a short time longer, you will pay $5 a gallon for gas. And after that, the sky's the limit. The price of groceries, already too high because of the leftover price gouging from the Biden era, and then exacerbated by the village idiot Donald Trump's stupid tariffs. The price of groceries are now spiraling upward because the trucks that deliver your food to the supermarket use diesel gas. So where does this leave us? It leaves us in a position where we have a mentally deranged imbecile making final decisions about a war that he cannot get out of, where he's easily being outsmarted and outmanipulated by the other team. And it's not just us. The entire world has to figure out how to navigate this stupidity as Trump's emotionally charged, crazed decisions will directly affect their economies. And here in the U.S., our emergency oil reserves are nearly empty, and they're not being replaced. That's not a great place to find ourselves in. Make sure you subscribe on Substack at Sinocracy.news for more updates like this, for live streams, and for articles. We'll get through this Trump madness together for two reasons. First, Trump is an idiot and you are not. Second, we have each other. See you tomorrow.